live. Let me just notify everyone, and then I'm going to grab TikTok, and we're going to get this party started. We have an exciting stream today. I'm pretty excited to be here. I haven't even really organized my thoughts, but I'll organize them in the next minute. So we will go live. We'll go live. Boom. Just notified homeschool's connected. And now let's go to TikTok. Ooh, that escalated quickly. Look at the big views. Big views. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Go live. Let's go. You're teaching children science, I guess. Teaching children science. Straightforward enough. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, TikTok. It is a beautiful day here in the Carolinas. The sun is shining, my sprinklers are going off, and my dog is running around in circles. And today we are going to talk about teaching your children science. And as I always tell people, the way you teach your children science is more important than the science you teach your children. And it goes into really no matter what you do with your children, the way in which you teach them is more important than what you teach them. So if we're talking about history, the way you teach them history is more important than the history they learn. Now, your children can memorize some history, that's fine. You can create a framework, but ultimately, as your children get into middle school and your children get into high school, they should be identifying points of interest. They should be looking up and reading primary documents from people on both sides of historical events, and they should be formulating their own opinions. Now, within that, they could also read historians, right? Every child should read J. Edward Griffin and his book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and everything he puts out, right? People like that who are really truly unique, great historians. Of course you should read these people. It's my son. He's a crazy guy. But ultimately, you want your children to develop their critical thinking skills from the way in which they study history. And they do that through the reading of primary documents on people from all sides of historical events.
Dad, I caught a moth!
You caught a moth?
Yeah.
What color is it?
It's black and white.
Is it big or small?
Big.
Big moth? Where was it?
It just flew onto me.
Oh man, well where do you think it lives?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to try to find its home.
Alright, go find a good home for it, okay?
Okay.
I love you. Brady caught a moth. So, when we teach our children history, we want to use it to develop their critical thinking skills, right? Hey, Jennifer, when we teach them science, we want to use that to develop their observation skills. We want them out in nature. We want them making observations. We want them catching moths. We want them using their descriptive language to describe the moth. Is it big? Is it small? What color is the moth? Where do you think it lives? What's your hypothesis? And you really want your children to use their critical thinking faculties. And this week, yesterday, I uploaded an experiment that I really love, because the next part of that is we want to teach our children not just the science, but the scientific method. Science is a method, and if we teach that method to our children, then they will grow up and they'll be able to identify the fallacious arguments of Mr. Wants to give you an ouchie, right? And that gets into everything we do, right? One of the things we're doing right now is we are teaching our children the different logical fallacies. So they're learning what is a straw man argument, what is an ad hominem attack, right? But we want to give our children, we want to arm them with the critical thinking faculties, with the awareness of the world around them, so that they can identify fallacious arguments, they could point out why the arguments are inaccurate, And from there, they can better understand the world around them. And what we've learned is if you don't understand the world around you, you might wind up getting a procedure that I'm just going to leave it at that, right? You all know what I'm talking about. So this stuff is more important than ever, and science is particularly important because the way it has been used like a sword against society, right? And for those of you who know what I'm talking about, you do. And for those of you who don't, you're probably in the wrong saloon, partner. Your website doesn't allow me to purchase posters and merchandise. Well, thank you for bringing that up to me. I wonder what the issue is. People have been buying my posters, so I don't know. I'll look into it. But what did you try to do exactly? I'd appreciate your feedback on that. And I'm actually going to be adding a bunch more posters that we made that are really good. So I really appreciate that heads up. We make some really good posters. But teaching our children, arming our children. By the way, if you guys could smash the like button and share this, even if you just, share to yourself, it really helps send this out to other people. So I really appreciate that because I'm trying to reach people. So when we teach our children science, we really want to bear down and focus on the science. By the way, I'm going to make all of our scientific method printables. I'm going to turn those into posters as well. And you guys can print them right from Homeschools Connected. What I would recommend if you want them to be cooler is you could go to Xerox, have them printed in color and get them laminated. Or if you, or I'm literally going to upload them as posters on the website. So that's an option as well. But I put a lot of work into those posters, and I try to make them as simple and persuasive as possible. And what I mean by that is the strongest persuasion creates an image in your child's mind. It's not exactly the right way to explain it, but I guess a better way to explain it would be I try to differentiate the instruction as much as possible. So, for example, for the ad hominem poster, I say, ad hominem is a personal attack in big red letters. And that's the top of the poster. And then I have a girl pointing at a boy and laughing at him, and the boy's pulling his hair out. Because you're trying to differentiate the instructions so that the memory can be paired with it as a personal attack. You want to differentiate the instruction as much as possible, yet you want to make difficult concepts simple, right? When we teach our children, we want to make difficult concepts as simple as possible, right? And maybe I have a simple mind, but that's how I prefer to work. And I think it's very wise to teach your children in that way. And then once they have a framework from what is simple, you could get into increased complexities with your kids. Anyway, that's what I was doing with the posters. Oh, and by the way, just while I'm on the topic, I know I'm a little off the rails because we were talking about science, but one of the things we've been doing is learning the logical fallacies. And what is an ad hominem argument? What is a straw man argument? And the purpose behind that is teaching your children logic, because we want our children to be able to identify what is a logical argument and what is an illogical argument. There is a second part to that. While we like to identify ad hominem attacks, while we like to identify straw man arguments, we also want our children to understand them. And I talk about this because I want you to understand this as you teach your children. Not only to identify them, but don't just teach your children that these things are bad, right? A straw man argument, an ad hominem argument, can be a very rhetorical tool in your child's toolbox, right? It can be a weapon in your child's toolbox. We want our children to have the power of persuasion, and sometimes it is beneficial to do ad hominem attacks on people that you know are shills, people that you know are liars, we want to tear them down. And to do that, ad hominem attacks are very effective. One of the more mainstream examples of this would be when Trump, and I'm not a fan of the guy, like I used to like the guy, but he really showed me his true colors. But the point is, he's very good at this. When he labeled Hillary Clinton crooked Hillary, right? That's an ad hominem attack, but that is pointed in the right direction. That is very powerful rhetoric. We want our children to be rhetoricians. We want them to be able to persuade the people around them and to tear them down. And you do that with rhetoric more than dialectic, more than logic. I always tell people, never bring logic to a rhetoric fight. You will lose. And the majority of society, even though they don't know it, they think they're being logical, they actually function with rhetoric. They actually function by having their emotions manipulated by rhetoric, and then those emotions are what form their worldview. So we want our children to understand, not only to identify a straw man argument, not only to identify an ad hominem argument so that they can have a sort of intellectual self-defense, but we want our children to be able to use those rhetorical tools when appropriate to persuade a crowd, to persuade an audience, or to win an argument against someone who is a liar, someone who is a shill, someone who is an enemy of everything that is the good, the true, and the beautiful. So there is nothing wrong with rhetoric. Rhetoric is a very powerful thing when it's pointed in the right direction. Like recently, Gavin McInnes, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but recently Gavin McInnes, who is a popular quote-unquote right-wing figure. I mean, I've always thought he was not great, but a very popular right-wing figure. He actually pretended that he was raided by the Federal Bureau of, they do investigations. I'm just talking around them, you know what. Gavin McInnes recently faked that, right? So he is doing, and he did that to make money. He did that, right? Because when someone like that, if they're persecuted by the government, well, then people that have patriotism in their hearts, people that want to do the right thing, they say, okay, I have to go support that guy. So he faked being raided so that he can make money. You know who does that a lot? Tim Pool. People are like, oh, Tim Pool, you know, he's this straight shooter. Tim Pool is a complete and utter shill. Let me explain why that's so obvious. Well, Tim Pool apparently, allegedly, gets raided by, and by the way, this is a crash course 101 in identifying shills. This is a crash course 101 in using your logic, using your reason to identify why Fox News is fake news, why CNN is fake news, why MSNBC is fake news, why Joe Rogan is fake news, why Gavin McInnes is fake news, why Tim Pool is fake news. And from a rhetorical perspective, if you were to brand someone fake news Gavin, right, that's an ad hominem attack, but that is directionally accurate. That is appropriate rhetoric. That is the good, the true, and the beautiful, right? And that's why you want to teach your children to identify this stuff. And that's why you want to teach your children how to use this stuff, because these are very powerful tools. So Tim Pool, for example, claims that he is swatted and raided by the cops and the FBI. This is what he claims 15 times already, all the time. Well, you can use about 3 seconds of logic, 3 seconds of inductive reasoning, and you could say, wait a second, are these government agencies, are they just completely lost? Do they have no idea what they're doing? Do they like having their time and their money and their resources wasted? And if you were running a police department, for example, and you were in the town that Tim Pool lived, right? He lives somewhere, right? So you're in the town where Tim Pool lives, and there's only so many government bodies that would be doing this raiding where he lives, right? This is where you live. So you live in this town, and this town has a police force, and then there's the FBI. Okay. All right, Tim Pool. All right, Lion Tim. no, don't talk about Tim Pool. He's such a truth teller. All right, lying Tim. It's just powerful rhetoric. But if you were that police department and you got a call and, oh God, and you got a call and that call said, hey, there's this guy, Tim Pool, and he lives at X and O address, right? And he's doing this bad thing and you need to SWAT him. And you're the police and you're like, oh man, we just got a tip. This guy at this address is doing this bad stuff. Let's go and SWAT him. By the way, algorithm, I'm not advocating for that. I'm explaining something that happened. So what you would do is they then carry out your operation and you go to that, they would go to that house and they would see, wow, that was a false alarm. We got there and it turns out that that tip that we got was inaccurate. And then you find out, oh, you're an internet personality and people do that because that's just something that happens in the modern world. Then you get the call again about the same address, about Tim Pool's house. Are you going to go again? And then a third time you get the call. It's Tim Pool's address. Are you going to go again? And then you get a fourth call. Are you going to go again? And a fifth call. And every time you go, you're like, oh man, you know what? Oh, gee, shucks, Bob. Oh, gee, shucks, that wasn't a real call. That was a fake tip. Oh, I just got a sixth tip. I'm going to go to Tim Pool's house. Oh my God, you're not going to believe this. A week has passed by, and I just got a seventh tip. I'm going to go to Tim Pool's house. Tim Pool is full of... Isn't it obvious once you see it? Oh, wait a second. He's not being persecuted. He's lying for money and status. I can see through you, Tim. You make a lot of money when you get raided by these agencies, right? Because then the patriots, people with good hearts, they see that and they say, I want to support that. I want to get behind that guy. Right? Right? You get that guy, Andrew blew up the internet, you know who, right? Andrew blew up the internet and then allegedly he was removed from every platform. Although you can't go onto any of these platforms without seeing him. You can't go onto any of these platforms without seeing his face pop up constantly. He's everywhere. He gets interviewed by Tucker Carlson and goes on Fox News. Wait a second. I thought this is the guy they don't want you to see. I mean, yeah, maybe I understand that. You know what? Maybe the reason we're seeing him is because it's not him posting his stuff. It's other people posting videos that he posts. So they're not going to wait a second. It can't be that because there's this guy, Owen Benjamin, who really is one of the most silenced people in the world. And he's not allowed on anything. Like, who's the guy? Jim Brewer tried to have Owen Benjamin on his YouTube channel, and Brewer basically got contacted and was told that if that interview didn't come down with Owen, that all of Jim Brewer's everything would be, he'd be, really silenced, right? So then Jim Brewer had to take down all the stuff with Owen. And there's this woman, Welsh Mama Bear, who has literally made 30 separate mirror channels of Owen Benjamin. Mirror channels in which she takes out all of the bad words and all of, anything he talks about that you're not supposed to say. She takes it out. Doesn't matter. He's on it. They all get taken down. So you say, wait a second. He's not really silenced. They're creating an illusion because they're trying to push young men toward that animal pen because they want him to follow people. And what does he do? I could show you a video that has surfaced of him literally as hard as he can a young girl. Then he grabbed her by the, ripped her around, and told her to do exactly as she was said. And don't even get like, I'm not even going to get into the stuff. Let's just say that's the tip of the iceberg when you start to really look into this stuff, right? And so you say, okay, so they're trying to push young men in that direction because they are promoting the breakdown of the relation between man and woman. They are promoting the breakdown of traditional family values, and they are promoting keeping up with the Joneses and materialism, which is what that truth speaker promotes. This is what they are showing you is an illusion. And that is why we have to teach our children the right way, and you do that through teaching them the logical fallacies, through teaching them how to identify ad hominem attacks, through teaching them how to identify straw man arguments, through understanding the difference between rhetoric and dialectic, being strong in their dialectic, but understanding how to use their rhetoric. The system doesn't want to promote me, I'll tell you that. They don't want to promote truthers who not are only truthers but are builders. Because we don't complain about them telling us that if we don't get a procedure, we can't keep our jobs. We start our own business, a homeschool company. We don't complain about them leveraging financial control over people to get you to do things you're uncomfortable with. Doctor wants to give you an ouchie. Don't you see my rhetoric? Isn't it so powerful? Never bring logic to a rhetoric fight. Never, ever. So when doctor wants to give you an ouchie and he knows he has financial leverage over you, that's a problem, right? But I sold my house. I moved my family across the country because I would not be in that debt, because that made me less controllable, because it is one thing not to comply, it is another thing not to rely. We don't have to rely on the system. We don't have to rely on what they do, but in order to not rely, you have to build alternative systems, and that comes from personal responsibility. So I moved my family across the country, started a homestead. I have apple trees, Pink Lady apples, Granny Smith apples, crab apples, peach trees, plum trees, cherry trees, avocado trees, calamundin trees. Melissa knows all about that now. All kinds of trees. I grow tomatoes, I grow lettuce. My wife crushes with the pepper garden. Because if you grow your own food, you're not as controllable. You don't rely on Trader Joe's. I love their name, Trader Joe's, because they are traitors to the United States of America, aren't they? Don't tell me to cover my Holy Spirit. Isn't that forbidden in the Bible? Doesn't the Holy Spirit come from the spoken word? Doesn't it come from your breath? Isn't that the Holy Spirit? If God put us here, someone asked me if I'm an atheist. If God put us here, and he said that our breath is the Holy Spirit and we literally cannot breathe, we cannot live without air, you want me to cover the Holy Spirit? Does the United States have religious freedom? Do I not get an exemption for that? Is that not what I hold most dear? What I hold closest to me? Do I not live my life and attempt to walk my life in the path of Jesus Christ, and I fall incredibly short? Incredibly short. It is one thing not to comply, it is another thing not to rely. They want me following Andrew Tate? They want me being a player? What a loser. What a terrible influence. You don't let people like that around your family, around your children. You don't let people like that in the town that you live. And I certainly don't want someone who is pretending to be silenced, influencing young people, and making more of that. No, make more of what I advocate for. Don't complain about, oh my God, they've opened the borders, we're being replaced. How many children do you have? Reject hookup culture. Show young people there's a better way. Because if I could go back in time, I would never engage in adult type relations outside of marriage. I would never. And ruin my ability to pair bond, my connection to someone, how close I am to my wife. If I was a younger man and I wasn't married, no, I want that to be as special as I can. I don't want to ruin my pair bond with someone that I could spend my life with for what? A hookup? For social status because you turned on Netflix and they said that's what you're supposed to do? They hate you. So show young people to get married young. And if you don't want your country to be replaced, if you don't want your nation to be replaced, then you have to have children. You have to have people that can provide the labor of your country. It's true when they say, well, we have to import people because there's no one that will do these jobs. Well, look at the birth rates. Birth above replacement. It's under 2.1. It's true. Have children. Get married. Be fruitful and multiply. Have lots of them. Don't send them to public schools. Homeschool your children. Raise them morally. Teach them right. Teach them their rights. Adopt children. Absolutely. One of my wife and I, one of our goals, one of our bucket list goals is we are going to adopt a child. And I can't wait to do it. I'm very excited about it. Not doing it yet, but when the time's right, we're going to do it. Adopt children. Have children of your own. Lots of them. They say, oh my God, children are a financial burden. No, they're not. What are you talking about? Do you love your mother? Yeah, if you're a piece of trash parent, yeah, then children are a financial burden. Would you allow your mother to be in a nursing home? Or would you have her live with you and take care of her? If that's the answer, then you were the best investment your mother ever made. You were the best financial investment your mother ever made. You were the best retirement instrument your mother ever invested in. As Melissa says, soccer team goals. Do you think there's anything more joyful in life? I mean, they teach these women, they're like, happiness is a Prada bag. Ugh. The devil really does wear Prada. No, happiness is your child laughing. There is nothing better in the world than the true pure joy smile of your child. And for anyone that doesn't get to experience that, I pity them. Like that, to be so brainwashed by the system that you don't realize what you're missing out on. There is nothing better in the world than seeing your child just like in pure joy smiling. In pure joy smiling. It doesn't just light up you, it lights up the world. And for anyone that's like, I don't believe in God, wait till you have children. Wait until you watch your child come out of your wife and they open their eyes. And when you see their eyes for the first time, you will realize you looked directly into the eyes of God. And God reveals his glory. I wouldn't want to live in a world where I didn't know that joy. And that's what they try to take away from you. Because they don't like you. Because they don't like you. But God loves you. And you should see his glory. You should see his glory. So have children. Get married. Be a good spouse. Get the sin out of your life. Stop watching inappropriate things, and you will find out how close you become with your spouse. How there is a mechanism, there is an instrument built into your biology, built into your very being, that draws you to your spouse like a magnet. And if you stop doing the inappropriate stuff, which if you look up historically, has actually been used as a weapon of war. I don't want to get too into this, but it has been used as a weapon of war. And then you'll realize why. So what do you mean that's been used? Yes, it's been used. Look it up. Historically, it's been used as a weapon of war. that stuff. You realize that you have something that magnetically draws you to your spouse. And how powerful that is. This is where your freedom comes from. This is where your strength comes from. So you honor your spouse. You be a good husband. You be a good wife. You homeschool your children. You teach them right. You learn your rights. You don't say, oh my God, they're violating my rights. What is common law? What is a straw man? What is the organic act in the year of our Lord, 1871? The court system is just a tool. And people say, the tool is beating me up. Well, yeah, you're going against someone that has used that hammer a lot and you've never used a hammer. They know how to use it better than you do. Start using that hammer. Know your rights. Teach your children their rights. And we're just getting started in figuring out how to do that. We are just getting started. I've done it a little bit on my own, and just wait where I go with this. Just wait when I could start bringing people like Tom Burnett in to my operation. Just wait and see what we do. That's the irony about me, because people would listen to me with this big microphone and say, oh, Brett thinks he knows everything. No, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. The reason I talk authoritatively is because this is my microphone. You're at the Cubs to Bears channel. You're at the Classical Learner channel. Of course I'm going to talk authoritatively. But the only thing that I truly know is that I know nothing. And what I really aim to do in my life is I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. Everyone in my life is smarter than me. Because I surround myself intentionally with people that are. People that are more experienced than me. People that have more wisdom than me. People that are smarter than me. And just by being around them, what they have permeates through me. It makes me a better man. It makes me a stronger man. It makes me a wiser man. The only thing that I know is that I know nothing. I learned that from Socrates because I read the smartest people in history. It is 2022. Why wouldn't you read the works of the greatest minds in human history? You have access to more knowledge than anyone in the history of humanity has had access to. Imagine living your life wasting it with Netflix. Right now, I'm reading Maria Montessori because I walk in the shadow of greatness. And I pray to God that I could carry the good, the true, and the beautiful forward. That when I die, not everyone, because the good people are typically remembered in history as being bad, and the bad people are typically remembered by history as being the good people. But for a small segment of the population, they'll look back and they'll read my works and watch some of my videos when I'm gone, my books, and I'm just getting started with that. And over the course of my life, I plan on hopefully writing about 50 children's books, some other books on my educational philosophy, and my bucket list long-term agenda is when I'm in my 50s, I want to write a Lord of the Rings style novel. But people will go back and look at my life and say, this guy got it. This guy made the world a little bit better of a place when he was there. The world was a little bit better when he left than when he got there because he was there. And mainly he did that by making himself better, by looking internally, by analyzing what he had to do better in his own life. Because the truth is, if we want to make the world a better place, that starts with the man in the mirror. I'm going to go back and read your comments now. For anyone interested in what I do, you can find it at www.classicallearner.com. Our private homeschool community is called Homeschools Connected, and it is $10 a month with the discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase, no spaces, and you get access to all of the educational materials that I put out. I'm a little distracted this morning. I decided to carve a pumpkin. Yeah, Coley's been crushing it this morning, and she's been carving a pumpkin with the children, and they're doing some fun stuff with that. And I believe they're going to make the pumpkin seeds into food. They're going to cook them, and really good lesson for the kids. Nicole crushed it this morning. I couldn't help it. I slept most of the morning. I was putting Brady to bed last night, and I fell asleep, which I was so mad about. And I woke up at 10:30, and I was like, oh, shit. Because you guys, all right, I think I could realistically make the claim that I put out more material. Maybe Owen Benjamin does more. He does more social media. No, he does more. He does more than me because he has really built out infrastructure and he has teams of people now. And like he's created so many good things that he's able to pay good people. And they've built like news media. They've built an app, social media, news media, land, physical structures. Like Owen's incredible, but outside of Owen, I don't think there is a truther on the internet. And no, Andrew Torba with Gab. Andrew Torba and some truthers that have made social media sites. Richard Grove, the Tragedy and Hope podcast. But like outside of a handful of people, I don't think there are truthers that produce more than me in the world. It's very few people. And those lesson plans, those homeschool lessons that I put out, that I make the videos about every day on social media, I start making them every night when the children go to bed. So I start doing that at I read to Brady from like 7 to 8, and then I lay with him and I start doing my work. And so I work from about 8 p.m. until that work is done. And it usually takes me anywhere from 4 to 7 hours. And so when I woke up and it was 10:30, I was like, oh no. And like, this is like a real insight, by the way, into, like the mindset of like very high performance type of people. Like I have a very high performance type of mindset. So like a lot of people would have been like, oh, it's 10:30. And me, I was like, I have a responsibility to get my stuff out here. And so I started working at 10:30 and I wound up finishing. You guys saw what I put out this morning with that nature unit study. Look how comprehensive that was. I did that from 10:30 to 3:30 in the morning. And then I fell asleep at 3:30, which I hate doing because I feel like it's not good for my health. That's why I was like, oh man, like I should have been done at 1:30 and that would have been better. But I did that. So I went to bed at 3:30 a.m. And then because of that, I slept until about 9 o'clock, which is pretty late for me. And, cause I'm usually up by now I'm up around 7 every day. Or 6:30. Whenever the kids wake me up, I wake up. But I just had to sleep this morning. But like there's a segment of the population of very high performance driven people, and like that's the type of mindset that goes into that. And that's why it's so funny, because you'll get these people that are like, must be nice that you have a big social media presence, must be nice that you have a company. Like, do you know how hard you have to work to, be an overnight success? Like, it's incredibly difficult work. Everyone should do it, and it's worth it. And by the way, this also gets into why it's so important that fathers provide and that mothers be caregivers. And like, I don't care if that's not popular, but it's not good for the children if Nicole was up until 3:30 a.m. and then she couldn't wake up with them in the morning because she was too tired. Like, I'm the homeschool guy. Like, I'm the child educator guy, and I'm not 1/100th of the caregiver Nicole is. Like, she just instinctively is much better at it than me. And that's because she's a woman. One of the things that Maria Montessori was talking about, that she was advocating for science to study more, is if you look in the animal kingdom, if you study animals, mothers in the animal kingdom instinctively know when to take care of their children, when to feed them, their cubs, when to feed them, what to teach them, how to reprimand them, and when to cut them off and make them go out into the wild on their own. Like, mothers in nature, animals instinctively know this. There are these stages of development that you could study and recognize in animals, and the same stages of development take place in humans. And human mothers have these same instincts, and what she was advocating for was more scientific study into the maternal instinct as educators of mothers. And like, it would not be good for our children for Nicole to be up till 3:30 a.m. and like, oh, I can't wake up, I'm too tired. Like, it's not good. It's not good. Mothers are, in my opinion, the position of mother should be held in the highest reverence in our society. There is not a single job more valuable. There is not a single job more important. There is not a single job more difficult that requires more skills in our entire society than that of the mother. And when that breaks down, society breaks down, because when children aren't given the social emotional support that they require from their mother, and children are pair bonded with their mothers in a way that they are not pair bonded with their fathers. Like, I am closer with my children than 99% of fathers in the world. I'm a homeschool dad. I'm hands-on. I'm just a very loving person. My children are more pair bonded with Nicole. It's just obvious. You just see it. There's no question about it. I can't match it. I can't match what I did. They are biologically connected. When my daughter cries, my wife starts to leak milk. She is physiologically connected to my daughter. Physiologically connected. There is something there, something unseen mechanisms, that they are physiologically connected. They are two people, but through spirit, through energy, they are one person. They're connected. Like that umbilical cord is still attached. Because I was never attached to my children through an umbilical cord, but both of my children were attached to my wife. They shared the same immune system. I can't replicate that. It's impossible. They are connected through their nature. And when the children don't get the social emotional support that they require from their mother, then society starts to break down. You start to get people with social emotional problems. And those people with social emotional problems become adults who don't become the best people. And then that becomes a cycle that passes intergenerationally to their children. And to the point where it gets to the point where they don't even want to have children, their family. And their line dies off, right? Nature corrects itself. When the mothers break down in society, when they get the mothers out of the homes, when they take the children away from the mothers and get them into schools, That's the root of the breakdown, of the rot of your society. That's how you get the rot that you have seen. By the way, if you guys can go through this today or go back through the YouTube and clip some of the talks on this today, that would be awesome, because we've had some very powerful talk here today. I've been really happy with how this has gone. I've gotten into some things that I like doing this because it prompts me to really dig into my thoughts and think critically about why I think what I think, and it's very therapeutic for me to do this. But that would be beneficial. The breakdown of the family is the rot of your society, of your nation. And getting the mother out of the home or getting the children out of the home is how they do that, which is why it's pushed so hard, which is why it's such an important objective. By the way, for anyone interested in what I do, you can find it at www.classicallearner.com. Support what you believe in. Be a part of what you believe in. And that's how you make the world better. That's why I support Owen Benjamin so hard. That's why I support Tom Burnett so hard. That's why I support Crow 777 Radio so hard, which if you want to know your rights, that's who you should listen to. That's why I support the PAT Life podcast, Pat Daly, Pat Life, who is a gravy machine. The guy has more knowledge. He's forgotten more than I even know. Like, Pat is one of a kind, man. I love Pat. The most rebellious thing you can do is to get married and have children, right? Like, counterculture used to be a rock and roll scene, and in the modern world, counterculture, like if you want to rage against the machine, get married and have children. That's how you fight back. And by the way, that's how you live a much more purposeful, much more fulfilling life. Been looking into your homeschooling. Does the subscription come with a lesson plan? Yeah, all those videos you see me put out are all real lessons that I make, and you get access to all the lessons, all the unit studies that I put out. Raise them to be wolves, not sheep. And not just wolves, but I like to say raise them to be shepherds, right? Raise them to be strong. Raise them to fight off the wolves and to be leaders of the people around them. Yes, you also get access to our entire community, absolutely. Brilliant, thank you. What's that? Oh, guys, I'm a police officer, and I just got a phone call that there's this guy, Tim Pool, who lives at the exact address I've been to 27 times before. And the previous 27 times, there was nothing nefarious going on there. But yeah, I think we're going to go there again. Ugh. Tim Pool's a liar. I can see through you. Grifter. What's that? Tim Pool again? I see through you, Timmy. Oh, I just got another call. I know we were at his address last week, but, we don't keep track of any of this stuff. Let's go there again. We are a very, high-functioning police department. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? Timmy Pool is pushed on you by the system because he's supposed to keep you in a cage. Different animals require different cages. We are farmers. State Farm. Get insurance with Allstate. They're telling you how they view you. We are farmers. Who you think they're farming? Who you farming? Allstate, State Farm, Progressive. Everyone talks about the banks. They don't realize how powerful the insurance companies are. Because the insurance companies go to the corporations and they say that in order to get insurance, you have to meet this criterion. For example, they can go to a certain profession of people that wear lab coats, a certain profession that you might go to if you're feeling slightly under the weather, or that you go to for yearly annual checkups. And those professionals might have insurance incentives to push certain things. I'm not saying what those things are, but gee, I wonder what those things are. I don't know. Anyway, I'm probably going to go do a study on, I heard about this really cool thing called preventative medicine. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it's interesting that it happened right then and there. I reconnect. You guys see me? YouTube, you guys there? You guys there still? We are farmers. Different animals require different cages. You're not going to put your chickens in the same pen as your goats. So some of your chickens go into Tim Pool. Your goats go into Joe Rogan. Oh yeah, he's the real truth teller. Joe the Toe. The toe is a rhetoric because Joe, he's like 3 feet tall. And it's hilarious because there's all these clips of him talking about how he's like 5'8", and it's like, little Joe. I wonder what else is little about him. He has cute little hands. He has cute little hands and cute little feet. Oh my God, little Joe Rogan. Little Joe Rogan. Oh yeah, the truth teller. Him and his $200 million contract. Yeah, that's not how it works. So the chickens go into Tim Pool, and the goats go into Joe Rogan, and the cows go to Alex Jones, and the sheep go right to CNN, obviously, and the Nigerian dwarf goats, they go to Fox News, and they think they're getting it real. Tucker Carlson's giving it to me real. He just had on Andrew Tate. Oh, I can see through you. We are farmers. Do. Ah. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because knowledge is power. Hold on, guys. I'm getting a call. Hold on. What's that? A tip? What address? The same address as last month? Who's that? The guy who lives there? That guy, Tim Pool? Yeah, when we went last month, that was a false tip. There was nothing nefarious going on there. What about the month before that? Oh yeah, there was nothing. All right, I know we've gotten calls to Tim Pool's house 37 times, but I think I'm gonna send our resources there. I'm gonna send some officers to that location. We're gonna use money and time and resources. That makes sense. Tim Pool's faking. Hello, McFly. Please clip this stuff. I see you, Timmy. I'm Tim Pool. I have on my beanie hat, and I fake getting raided and swatted for money. We know what you do, Tim Pool, and we know what you do, Gavin McInnes. Gavin McInnes. This is a man, a real beacon of masculinity. Gavin McInnes, who encouraged his followers to join a group of dum-dums, to show up and get into conflicts with another group of dum-dums called Antifa, so that the news media, instead of having to cover the violence coming from the group, the communist group, instead the news media could point their cameras directly at Gavin McInnes' group of super Proud Boys. We're the Proud Boys. He could point his group, their cameras at the Proud Boys and say, look at what right-wing America really is. Look what these people are. It's almost like he was encouraging men to do exactly what the system would want them to do if the system was trying to discourage trying to discount their position, to make that group of people look unhinged. So Gavin McInnes encouraged his followers to go engage in that behavior that made the entire movement of more right-wing positions look bad. And by the way, I don't consider myself, I'm not right-wing. At this point, I think I'm just as left-wing as I'm right-wing. And no, I'm not listening to Anderson Cooper or the Young Turks or NPR. I just consider myself an environmentalist. And by the way, that doesn't mean I support the EPA or Agenda 21. I'm not brain dead, but I do love the earth, and I'm not going to let their political agenda make them the only environmentalist. I am a right-wing environmentalist, but I guess that's like a left-wing position, where I believe in protecting the planet. Like yesterday, I was at a garden center with my family, and my son saw someone had littered, so we picked up the litter, found a garbage, and threw it in the garbage. I am going to plant about 20 trees this week. I am a real environmentalist. Hold on, guys. I'm getting a phone call. What's that? Wait, the same address as last week? It's happening again. All right, I'm gonna deploy some resources there. We're gonna spend money and our time of our police officers and send them there. Yeah. I know last week that it was just a fake tip, but we're gonna do it again to the same exact address, to the same guy's house. Ugh! Tim Pool, I see you. We are farmers. Doot, 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 doot. Now go get in that pen, you little chickens. Oh, man. Never bring logic to a rhetoric fight. You see how you teach your children? Never bring logic to a rhetoric fight. I used to be very dialectic. I didn't even know what rhetoric was until I was like 26. They didn't teach that in public school. They didn't teach me what rhetoric was. They barely taught logic. I figured that out on my own. And then I used to be super logical. I'd be like, why won't these people listen to my arguments? Because you never bring logic to a rhetoric fight. You'll lose. The majority of people are controlled through rhetoric. It's why at elite private schools, their children are taught the trivium of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Now, I advocate for a mixture of different education. I don't necessarily think the triviums I mean, it's not the wrong way to go, but it's not the the way I'm educating my children, but I do teach them the aspects of the trivium. My children will understand grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Don't bring logic to a rhetoric fight is rhetoric. It's rhetoric on rhetoric. Because for anyone that rhetoric is new to, the phrase teaches them what rhetoric is, right? You don't bring a knife to a you-know-what fight, right? So I've made a connection in their mind where now the next time they're like, wait, what was rhetoric? They could say to themselves like a mantra, don't bring logic to a rhetoric fight. Oh, that's rhetoric. Okay, now I see rhetoric. Now I understand what rhetoric is. Teach your children. I don't like the guy. I think he's another shill. But Scott Adams writes some really good books on persuasion and rhetoric. I would have my high school students read Scott Adams' books on persuasion. They're very simple reads, and they explain it very well. Again, I don't like the guy. He's a shill. He's a cuck. He's a, you know, he's not exactly giving you the truth there, and he's full of it. But he does write powerful books on that topic. And he is legitimately one of the better cartoonists in the world, in terms of like not political stuff, but like office type of cartoons. Like he's very talented. Like in my opinion, the number one political cartoonist in the world is Made by Jim Bob. Made by Jim Bob. And the way I judge this stuff is true art reflects reality back into the mind of the observer. So when you see one of Made by Jim Bob's political cartoons, it reveals a logical fallacy through rhetoric that completely tears apart whatever the agenda is in the current zeitgeist. He's very powerful at that stuff. Made by Jim Bob. I've been an admirer of his work for some time, and I strongly recommend you guys check him out. Made by Jim Bob. I have pumpkin butternut squash taking over my garden, crushing. I didn't mean for that to happen. All right, you'll get it together. Do you have books on self-sustainability? I have a book called You Are What You Eat, which I strongly recommend for your children. Yeah, pumpkins get wild. So do watermelons. In regards to marriage, do you think it's valid only if it's registered with the state? No, I think a marriage is between a man, a woman, and God. And for anyone who wants to read between the lines, yes, I mean that. I believe marriage is between a man, a woman, and God. That's it. And say, oh my God, I'm so triggered. Talk about it more. No, these platforms, I abide by the rules of these platforms, and they don't want me to talk on that matter, so I won't. But that's what I believe about marriage. I don't care what you do with the state. Like I said, marriage is between a man, a woman, and God. All right, I think I'm gonna call it on that. I think this was one of my favorite streams. So my husband's high performance. The man works so hard, and I'm so grateful. That's awesome. I used to I used to face CEOs of some of the biggest businesses, and none of that is important as what I do now being a mom. Right. I mean, what you do now is so much more important. Like, it's so much more powerful. It's how you have a strong nation. It's how you have to raise strong moral children, and it's not an insult. Like, a man can't do what a woman can do. You just can't. I'm 40 and my baby is 20, and I sometimes still feel like that without the leaking. Yeah, because you're physiologically attached to your child. Like, I, I've, I like, all right, when I was in my younger, dumber days, me and my buddy were out in town, and anyway, something happened, and we got in a fist fight. I was in eighth grade, ninth grade. We got in a fist fight, and it was me and my buddy. I'm not gonna use his name. Two other friends, and there were three guys. And my two other friends, who were oh so tough wrestlers, literally watched as me and my good buddy fought three guys, and we held our own. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I had blood coming off me, but we held our own. So I remember that fight. I didn't even think I got hit because my adrenaline was going so hard. And then as we were walking away, I realized I was gushing blood in my mouth. I was like, I guess I got hit. So we're walking down the block after the fight, and his mother pulled up, and she saw that clearly we had gotten a fight. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I knew it. I sensed something was wrong. Like, she never came and found us. Like, out of all nights, she came and found us, and she was like, I just sensed it. I knew something was wrong. I don't know. Mothers have a connection with their children. Like, she sensed her son, something was wrong. I don't know any of the names of people he mentioned. Yeah, that's probably a good thing. That's probably a good thing. They're all shills. They make a lot of money, being truth tellers. They're really gatekeepers. Yeah, I took your cup again. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. How do you know what's real anymore? You got to use your discernment. You got to always question everything, and you'll figure it out. All right, guys, I'm going to go. What's this? Hello? Again? All right, I know that the last 29 times you called, that those were all fake tips. But all right, I'll deploy the officers there. Yeah. Yeah. No, we haven't taken notes on any of this. We haven't written down that we keep getting calls about this one address and this one guy's house, and then every time we go there, it's a false alarm. We're going to deploy our resources there again. Our money and our resources. Yeah. Yeah. Hey guys, did you hear? Our favorite podcaster, Tim Pool, they just keep going to his house. Let's send him money. Oh, these grifters. All right, I digress. www.classicallearner.com. Homeschools Connected is our private homeschool community. You could join it with the discount code FREEDOM for $10 a month. Make sure it's all lowercase and no spaces. And all lowercase and no spaces. And I try to stream every day, sometime around 9:30, but I don't stream until I get all my stuff posted, so it could be anywhere from, 9:30 to 12 in the afternoon, but I'll be back tomorrow. Freedom isn't free. We have to earn it every day, and I will undoubtedly be back tomorrow to earn it. And I will now drink my drink for the next 10 seconds in honor of Melissa. Clip stuff from this, start clip channels, like start the Classical Learner clip channel, post clips every day, anything you guys want to do, or start TikTok clip channels. All this stuff is free range. Let's reach more people, and we're doing very positive things in the world, so let's crush. All right.